Today is Monday, November 24th. What to know about high-stakes talks that could eventually bring peace to Ukraine. Also, a shakeup in conservative American politics as President Trump parts ways with a far-right politician and embraces a far-left one. Plus, when and where storms could disrupt holiday travel, why some popular children's products are being recalled, and how much it will cost to host Thanksgiving dinner this year. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in about 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Lacey Evans, filling in for Erica Mandy today. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Ukraine is now facing pressure to accept America's controversial new peace proposal by Thanksgiving. At least that's the deadline President Trump has given, saying if Ukraine doesn't accept by then, it will have to keep fighting without American aid. The proposal would end Russia's invasion, but it would also force Ukraine to give up land to Russia, shrink its army, and more. The White House says it was drafted by special envoys from both the U.S. and Russia. And publicly, Ukrainian President Zelensky has said he is grateful for the U.S. and Trump, but that, quote, peace must be dignified. Other European leaders have criticized the U.S. plan as being too favorable to Russia. Well, President Trump wrote on Truth Social yesterday that Ukrainian officials are showing zero gratitude for America's efforts to end the war. Still, senior U.S. officials like Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff have been meeting with Ukrainian officials to move peace talks forward. And Rubio says a tremendous amount of progress has been made. Apparently, Ukrainian representatives have already made some revisions to address security guarantees, long-term economic development, and more. Those talks continue today, and Rubio says he's optimistic. There's been a surprising shift in opinion at the White House. It was first on display Friday when President Trump met with the Democratic socialist who's set to become New York City's mayor next year. In the past, Trump has called Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani a communist lunatic, a radical, an existential threat to New York, and even threatened to pull the city's federal funding if Mamdani won. As for Mamdani, he has called Trump a fascist and a despot and has framed the president as a threat to democracy. Well, then on Friday, Trump called Mamdani a very rational person and said they agree on a lot more than he thought. Mamdani called the meeting productive, and they both promised to work together on shared policy concerns like the cost of living and reducing crime. Meanwhile, Trump has had a high-profile falling out with a congresswoman who used to be one of his top allies. We're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Less than a week after Trump withdrew his support for her, the controversial congresswoman announced she would be resigning from Congress. At first, Greene was known for spreading conspiracy theories and heckling former President Biden during State of the Union speeches. Then, during Trump's second term, she started pushing back on him too, mostly because she said she disagreed with how the Trump administration had handled the Epstein investigation and said Trump was too focused on foreign affairs. Now, Greene is set to leave Congress in January. Trump has called it great news for the country. Remember how last week we told you a federal court blocked Texas's new Republican-friendly voting map? Well, over the weekend, the Supreme Court said the state can go ahead with the new map, at least for now, while high court justices consider the case. Republicans are hoping the new map will give them an extra 5 seats in the U.S. House, but opponents accuse them of racially gerrymandering. Either way, the state is asking the Supreme Court to act fast, since December 8th is the deadline for U.S. House candidates to file to run in Texas. Meanwhile, other states, like California and Virginia, are still planning to move ahead with new maps more geared toward Democrats, while states like Missouri and North Carolina are doing the same with maps that lean Republican. International airlines have started canceling flights to Venezuela. Several carriers made the call after the U.S. government warned pilots to use caution while flying in the country's airspace. The FAA cited worsening security and increased military activity. It comes as the Trump administration has been conducting bomber flights up to the coast of Venezuela, sometimes as part of a training exercise to simulate an attack. The U.S. has also been carrying out a series of strikes on small boats accused of trafficking drugs on either side of South America. There have been concerns about the U.S. possibly planning military strikes against targets on Venezuelan soil next. And Reuters says the U.S. is poised to launch a new phase of operations in the coming days. The world has struck a new climate deal. It happened at this year's United Nations COP30 talks with representatives from more than 190 countries. But American officials weren't there, and the summit was fraught with disagreements. In fact, as the BBC explains it, in 3 decades of these meetings, this one will go down as one of the most divisive. Countries were supposed to write up their own national climate plans, but many of those plans didn't get a good grade, and others didn't even turn one in. In the end, the agreement didn't include any mention of the fossil fuels contributing to global warming, which upset dozens of countries, but satisfied others that rely on oil, coal, or gas to support their economies. So what did the deal include? Well, wealthier countries agreed to work toward tripling the money available to help climate-vulnerable countries adapt to the warming planet. There were also smaller agreements on energy grids and biofuels. Critics say it all shows how hard it is to find global cooperation on issues that impact everyone. But some experts say the fact an agreement was reached at all shows global climate diplomacy is still alive. More news is still coming up, but first, here's your main host, Erica Mandy, to tell you about our sponsor, Honeylove.
Around the holidays, it feels like every day calls for a different outfit. Work events, family dinners, travel, parties. And what I've learned is that the right foundation makes all the difference. That's why I reach for Honeylove. I first tried their shapewear before a special event, honestly expecting it to feel tight or restrictive, but I was pleasantly surprised. It was comfortable, supportive, and stayed put all night, so no rolling down, no tugging, no I can't wait to get home and change moment. Now it's the piece I trust most for anything dressy. And as we head into the holiday season, Honeylove has become my go-to for feeling confident in whatever I'm wearing. Their other essentials are great too, whether you're dressing up or just wearing a cozy sweater. Treat yourself or someone you love to Honeylove this holiday season. And right now, you can save 20% at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Just use our exclusive link, honeylove.com/newsworthy, to grab your discount. After you order, they'll ask where you heard about Honeylove, so please support our show and let them know we sent you. Celebrate the season feeling confident and comfortable with Honeylove.
Now, back to the news. This week, Thanksgiving travelers could have to contend with some storms. The first storm system has already started, bringing heavy rain to Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and the Southeast. That should last through at least tomorrow. Then, forecasters say a cold front will move through the northern U.S. Wednesday. It's expected to bring snow to Minnesota and rain to the Northeast. The good news is Thanksgiving Day is expected to be mostly dry across the U.S., meaning turkey trots, parades, and outdoor dinners shouldn't be disrupted. Though it's possible the Northeast could still be getting some rain or snow. So meteorologists suggest keeping a close eye on the forecast all week, especially if you plan on traveling. Parents and other caregivers are being warned about a few different products that have been deemed dangerous for young children. For example, a popular folding learning tower from the company Little Partners. It was sold at places like Walmart, Amazon, Wayfair, Buy Buy Baby, and more for about $100. Well, its platform can suddenly collapse, posing a serious risk to kids standing on it. So if you have one, you can contact the company for a free repair kit. Separately, a playpen sold on Amazon by the brand Anna Queen was recalled because babies can get trapped under the mattress or between the side of the playpen and the mattress, and that could pose a serious risk of suffocation. So anyone who has one is being told to destroy it and contact the company for a refund. Also, remember we told you about infant formula from the company ByHeart being suspected in a botulism outbreak? Well, now ByHeart confirms botulism spores were found in its products, and the recall has been expanded. Dozens of babies got sick and have had to be admitted to the hospital, and now multiple families are suing ByHeart. The company won't comment on pending legal matters, but says it's cooperating with the investigation. The U.S. government has signed off on a new crash test dummy to determine the safety of new vehicles. And for the first time, the dummy is based on a woman's body. Until now, the government has always used dummy models based almost entirely on a man's proportions. There's a male one and a smaller male one. Whereas this new dummy actually reflects differences in the shape of a woman's neck, collarbone, pelvis, and legs. And the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it matters, since right now, women drivers in the U.S. are 73% 20% more likely than a man driver to be severely injured in a car crash. But some American car makers have been skeptical, saying the new model could exaggerate injury risks. And a group representing insurance companies has already said it thinks the current crash test dummies are fine. So the real question now is, will the new women dummies actually be used? They'll be available to the auto industry and manufacturers, but they won't be mandatory unless a bill passes in Congress. Stay tuned. Formula One took over Sin City for the weekend, turning the Las Vegas Strip into an F1 street course. And in the end, there was a repeat winner. Max Verstappen became the first driver to win the Las Vegas Grand Prix twice. This time, he won by a 20-second margin, beating Lando Norris and George Russell. They were all in the top 3 for most of the race. But then, hours after the race ended, officials said Norris and his teammate, Oscar Piastri, were disqualified over illegal plank wear. They were actually the top 2 drivers in the F1 points standing, so that's now considered a setback for them. Now, there are just 2 races left in the Formula One season. The latest Wicked is making history at the box office. Wicked for Good is the second movie in the 2-part adaptation of the hit Broadway musical, and it made its debut over the weekend by bringing in $150 million in North America alone. That set a new record for the biggest opening weekend ever for a movie based on a Broadway show. It was also the second biggest opening weekend of the whole year, coming in just behind a Minecraft movie. But more competition is on the way. This Wednesday, the sequel to Zootopia is coming out. Then, the sequel to Avatar is being released next month. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, where we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, Erica is back to tell you about our sponsor, Fatty 15.
I've become more aware of how I feel these days, my energy, my sleep, my overall wellness, and I love exploring things that support long-term health in a meaningful, science-backed way. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Fatty 15. Fatty 15 is built around C15, the first essential fatty acid discovered in over 90 years, a breakthrough for aging and longevity. It was originally identified by Dr. Stephanie Van Watson while working with the U.S. Navy to help aging dolphins stay healthier longer. And now that research is helping humans, too. Based on more than 100 studies, C15 strengthens our cells. And when our cells stay strong, we stay strong. People who take it report deeper sleep, smoother moving joints, improved metabolic and heart health, and even healthier skin, hair, and nails. It's also vegan and comes in a beautiful reusable glass jar with convenient refill packs. I especially appreciate that it offers benefits similar to fish oil without that fishy taste. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you live healthier, longer. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/newsworthy and using code newsworthy at checkout.
Now back to Money Monday. If you haven't started your Thanksgiving shopping yet, you might be happy to hear costs are actually down, depending on what you serve, of course. This year, the American Farm Bureau Federation puts the total cost of a meal for 10 people at about $55. That's the lowest it's been since 2021. It includes a 16-pound turkey and sides like stuffing, rolls, sweet potatoes, peas, cranberries, and pumpkin pie ingredients. The Farm Advocacy Group based its estimate on volunteer shoppers in all 50 states checking grocery store prices for the same Thanksgiving staples. It found what really helps is turkey is cheaper this year. Same with wheat-based items like dinner rolls and stuffing. But things like milk and fresh vegetables are actually more expensive because of weather issues, labor shortages, and so on. You may find extra deals at several stores since they know budgets are tight this year. Many are offering free turkey promotions and holiday meal bundles to entice shoppers. Even with the overall price drops, many Americans are still trimming costs by hosting smaller gatherings, skipping extras, and opting for store brands. Thank you for joining us today. If you're not an insider yet, you can get ad-free episodes when you become one. Start your free trial at thenewsworthy.com/insider. And Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to episodes of The Newsworthy ad-free in the Wondery app until the end of the year. We'll be back with even more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.